Well, hello. I want to welcome everybody to another Sleuth Intuition Live with a special guest. Fig Mutant is going to be joining us, and we will be adding him to the stream right now. Fig, can you hear
What's
me?
up, Sleuth? Loud and clear, man. How's it going?
Good, man. I'm really happy that you joining me today. I know you got a lot on your mind, a lot of new developments. I know you can kind of sense it in the air, the same as I do, right?
Yeah, it seems like there's some big stuff going down. So I was like, got to reach out and talk to someone about it. There's not as many people that I know in real life, or no one like this case. So I'm like, yeah, I'll reach out to Sleuth, see what's going on, what he thinks. So yeah, appreciate your time.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Glad to have you. I did catch you on True Crime Bloke. Great interview, great job there. So I'm excited to have you on board here. You did such a great job there. I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
Oh,
Um, what I have planned.
oh, sorry. The world's a better place when you guys are getting along. So I'm glad you guys squashed it. That's all. I'm probably speaking to right for everyone there, but yeah, I'm glad you guys are good.
Yeah, I can't speak to that. You know,
Okay. Okay.
you,
I
you
feel
know
you.
things. Nothing to be squashed on my end.
Okay. Oh, fair
Um,
enough.
what I plan to do is kind of go over all the news that we've been hearing. Anybody that keeps up with this information knows that there's been a lot of movement today. So you see it, I see it, we all see it. I tuned into the Real Chill Graz earlier. They talked about it, and I was really excited about this information, the HLN stuff that's coming on Saturday. And I'm sure you're going to have a lot to say about this stuff as well, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So we'll talk about it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's jump right in. I mean, no need to waste any time. Let's take a look here.
All right.
My name is Sergeant Jeremy Piers, the Public Information Officer with the Indiana State Police out of the Lafayette Post. While investigating the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German, detectives with the Carroll County Sheriff's Office and the Indiana State Police have uncovered an online profile named Anthony Schatz. This profile was being used from 2016 to 2017 on social media applications, including but not limited to Snapchat and Instagram. The fictitious Anthony Schatz profile used images of a known male model and portrayed himself as being extremely wealthy and owning numerous sports cars. The creator of the fictitious profile used this information while communicating with juvenile females to solicit nude images, obtain their address, and attempt to meet with them. Pictured on your screen, you'll see images of the known male model and the images of the fictitious profile sent to the underage females. We have already identified the male in these images that were used by Anthony Schatz. The male in the photo is not the person of interest in the investigation. Detectives are seeking information about the person who created the Anthony Schatz profile. Investigators would like any individual who communicated, met, or attempted to meet the Anthony Schatz profile to contact law enforcement by utilizing the tip email, Abby and Libby Tip at cacoshrf.com. Please provide as much information as you possibly can. For example, when you communicated with Anthony Schatz, how you communicated with the profile, what social media applications the account used, and if Anthony Schatz attempted to meet you or obtain your address. If you have saved images or conversations with Anthony Schatz profile, please attach them to your email. Again, if you have any information, please contact law enforcement by utilizing the tip email, Abby and Libby Tip at cacoshrf.com. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry, my little studio's in my office, and apparently my wife did not get my messages that I'd be going live. So that was me basically like waving my hand at her like, hey, shut the garage door and shut the dogs up. But anyway, what happened was when we got that information regards to Anthony Shots, that was the beginning of where we are now, correct?
Yeah.
The news that we're about to go into, they clearly state that that tip or them releasing that information led to over 500 tips.
Wow. And then, so you think it's something came out of one of those tips?
Well, I know that I was very involved in a recent tip, and as important as that tip was and as involved it was as far as sources and people close to it and law enforcement contacts, some information came out that they just were not at this point in time interested in this specific person, and I could only help but think they have something.
No, that's a good point. For you, finding out almost what they're not interested in is almost as telling as what they are interested in. So,
Oh yeah,
I mean, it
when
did
you're
help.
involved, when you're involved, you're involved.
Yeah, and if you're going to make yourself involved, right? Like I heard the interviews, and yeah, you're asking for it to be involved, and it's good to know. So the fact that you're not getting as much attention from Ellie, yeah, they must be working on something for, I guess, some of this stuff. Like, I helped edit some of that for you, and I went through it, and I was just like, wow, nuts.
Yeah, I got well, I'm still talking with Carroll County. They're still very interested in, but um while coordinating with the source who's dealing with Indiana State Police, they specifically stated that this person of interest, they're not interested in him at the moment for good reason.
Wow.
With everything. And this
That's shocking.
includes behind the scenes information. I know people don't like to say that's like behind the scenes. What do you know? You ain't got. You're lying. The truth is, people very close to this individual provided new information and new evidence. How close to this person, I can't say. I have to protect my sources. I've been blessed enough to be involved that they would reach out. And provide me with that inside information. But Indiana State Police and Carroll County are not on the same page. I don't know if that means that Indiana State Police, they have something solid. They're working on something very specific. Carroll County, they're still upset while certain people didn't participate in follow-up interviews 5 years ago.
Yeah, which I think boggles a lot of people's mind. Why, right? It was cleared, that house, the Kline house was cleared years ago, and there was nothing of it. And then all of a sudden, like, oh no, it's important again with Anthony Shots. But I was going to get your thoughts on that interruption that occurred during one of your interviews. Now, with the information that you know and from kind of deducing things, do you think something with that interruption had anything to do with what law enforcement was working on, or something they knew? It seemed like there was panic there, where they came and knocked, like almost they were watching your stream. That's why I got the feeling. I was like, someone's watching and not liking what's being said, and put a stop to it.
My initial interview, what I did was I placed a tip, and then I knew it wouldn't get attention unless I went live. So it worked. Did it lead to anything as of yet? No. A lot of stuff going on though. I just want to thank all the people that assisted me in making things happen. There was a lot of people behind the scenes in our community here that helped utilize their resources, and we got action. I want to thank those people. When the time is right, they they can make themselves known. I really appreciate that. But we got some things done. A lot of people doubted what was going on. A lot of virtue signaling, a lot of weird stuff going on. A lot of YouTube drama. You got to ignore that, and you got to push on, and you got to do what you know is right. Um, and it's still ongoing. As of this morning, Carroll County is taking a serious interest, doing some serious follow ups, taking the new evidence. Indiana State Police are on a different page.
Yeah. Yeah, I think your interview showed that that person, he knows something. It's like this fear. It seemed like there's a change in his behavior at a certain point, where he has some inside information. So whether he's the person specifically they're looking for, but there's something there, right? Something alerted. But yeah, I don't know, when someone knocked on that door and like, hey, what are you doing? Get off the computer. Basically, I'm like, that might be a family member trying to protect him. Right? Your mind just starts going a little bit because they know what he knows, or
Well,
Yeah.
the thing about this individual, whether he is the person or not, um, that information that I've received is that he's still a very dangerous person regardless, and these sources need to be protected. So
Mhm.
anybody who's watching who has that information, please, I reiterate, it's important that you protect these people, only for their own respect and their willingness to share with us. It's been very frustrating. I would like to come out and just say everything and tell everybody what a lot going on. Does it mean a lot? I don't know. It's happened at the same time that all this information is happening. I have no clue. I'm just doing what I do.
Mhm. No, did a great job with the interview. And like, I advocate for mental well-being.
I
I work with
I can
doctors
give
on
you the
mental
inside
well-being.
information. Go ahead.
Oh, but I would say from an advocate that if someone is mentally unwell, that doesn't excuse them from, right. There's still things like, okay, it can't be that person then because they're mentally ill. We don't know. So it didn't rule them out or make them any more of a suspect. It's just, right. I think you always have to keep an open mind. And I know you're really good about always saying that, like, be open, be open. And you weren't going after him because there was a mental illness. That just, maybe that's a byproduct of the behavior that he was showing. So again, I'm like, you have to keep an open mind. We need to be realistic of what we do know and what we don't know, and then just try and follow the evidence the best we can.
Well, people may not have kept track of the progress with my communication with this person. It all started out with an email correspondence back and forth where full disclosure was made. My suspicions, this person's involvement. There was nothing hidden. Um, the phone conversation was a blindside, but I would have kept it to myself if at the end of the call he did not agree to me disclosing what was said. It was
Mhm.
clearly said, and I'm not here um, to diagnose somebody over a Twitter feed. I'm not here to diagnose people. I'm not qualified for that. I know a lot of people feel that they are qualified. That's not my job, and that's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm not here to ostracize anybody. I'm not here to look at them as lepers. Um, I look at this person as a man, and I'm curious. I'm just a curious person. Now, with your own words, let's hear what you have to say. That was my stance.
Mhm. Give him a platform, right? Platform to talk, and then see what comes of it.
Yeah, because he could be out there for attention. Um, and I've said this from the beginning. This person received a lot of attention early on in regards to the Delphi case. Um, I can see if your life is going well, you received a lot of unwanted attention in regards to the case, but maybe your life isn't going so well today, almost 5 years later, and you remember that attention. And I've stated this anybody that's kept track would know that I've stated this clearly, even to this
Mhm.
person, that maybe now life's not going so well, maybe a broken home, unemployment. Now you need that attention. Okay, I remember a time where I received all the attention in the world. It was when people were looking at me for the Delphi stuff. Let me go back to that and I'll get everything that I
Mhm.
needed. I've considered
Right.
that. I'm not a fool.
Right. And you have to consider some people who are legit serial killers, they also look for attention too, right? Like Zodiac, he was putting stuff out in the public. And so it doesn't rule anyone in or out. It's just, yeah, got to keep an
Well,
open mind. And,
and after some time, you begin to know who you're looking for. You begin to act without a face, you begin to learn who this killer is. And something really great about Graz's live stream, the FBI was talking about the Boston Strangler, and they were talking about all this information that they were using to identify this person, and all the inside information that I was getting on the person that we're discussing now was identical completely. I can't help but not ignore that.
so yeah, 100%. So whether it's the person, forget their name, but that behavior is what made me light up. Because if you look at a visionary killer, they leave a sloppy crime scene, right? They might leave signatures. I mean, and then you see some of the Twitter posts, like those behaviors matched up to me, like someone who was a mixed type serial
Mhm.
killer, or at least acting that way, and with a mix between visionary and maybe some power and control. So I'm like, okay, that's a mixed type. And then also, when you look at a mixed type killer, those crime scenes are the most confusing. So then you couple that with some quotes, how the crime scene was very confusing. So things started to add up. So I was interested in the behavior element. So even if it's not this person, it's almost announced like we should be looking for behaviors like
Mhm.
this. I think would be a good tip, even if it's not that person. Like these are the type of behaviors that should be flagged.
Well, another thing that struck me was, and it was so strange that he was playing the Boston Strangler, and I hadn't looked into that case for so long, but I was watching it. The person who ended up being accused of the crime, he kept saying, "I know that I did most of these crimes, but I'm not sure if I did all of them," which indicates a blackout type situation.
Which is very common for a visionary type killer as well. Psychosis, the blackout, saying they don't remember, saying they have voices in their head, saying that
DID.
someone told them. So those were the bells that were ringing as I was listening to the interview. I'm like, if everyone could at least notice these behaviors and look for other people with similar behaviors, and just because you have those behaviors doesn't make you a murderer, but there are things that can lead you if you already had some suspicions of someone and then you see certain behaviors like that, and especially having like a stressful day or two right before the murders, right? That kind of puts a person like that over the edge to act out. So any stressful events that people could remember, like so and so lost their job, lost their family, was down a whole bunch of money, lost a huge bet, whatever it was. I mean, those are the pieces we want hopefully people to remember to tip it in.
Yeah, and when this is all said and done, I can't wait to go over the information that was provided. Um, but it only leads me further into that's why I'm so confused when I see all this breaking information and things like that, and it's going more towards the whole Klein thing. It just leaves me extremely confused, or somehow they're tied, because it's just almost impossible that they're not connected in one way or the other, in my opinion.
Yeah, and they still could be. It's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, the things that have been going on behind the scenes, it's like people are being extremely brave, that weren't being brave early on in the case. So they're risking it all. Uh,
Mhm.
BG, BG or no BG, there's people right now.
Yeah,
So
it's yeah, with some of the news today, did that make you, because it sounded like you're hinting at it, kind of lean more towards Keegan Kline's involvement. And that's the feeling I got when I heard the news today and watched these. Like, okay,
Well,
this is
we gotta
yeah.
we gotta think Keegan Kline, he created it. They know that the Anthony Shots was communicating with the girls. Um, but right from the beginning, all the sleuths that been communicating behind the scenes know that there's a second person involved with that Anthony Shots name. So we can only assume that this is the person who may have been the perpetrator. There could have been. I have a theory and a video. I was getting ready to put out, but I'm gonna hold out until all this kind of clears out. But it's basically a cyber stalker who is watching a catfish communication between the girls and the catfish, and this person is observing this conversation, watching the successes of the catfish, and then in turn utilizes it for their own, their own gain, and then also with the ability, knowing that this person is catfishing, they know that that'll throw them off their scent.
I like it. Can't wait for it.
We'll see. We'll see how that goes. That could still be the case. That might be what we're dealing with. But also, in regards to that person of interest we're speaking of, before we jump into these news reports, very cunning, master manipulator, and may have been, what I'm told was, I was used as a tool to fool everybody. And it worked in some senses. So we'll see.
Yeah, very intelligent, high vocabulary. I mean, yeah, but
Smarter
someone's
than
got to give them a platform.
smarter than what they let on by far.
Yeah.
But we'll continue that. Let's go ahead and jump into some of this information. We'll take pauses. We'll have little chats in between. We'll catch up on these comments too. I mean, they're going crazy, and we got plenty of time for that. So we'll take a look while this news report goes.
Insights into the Delphi investigation. The state's top law enforcer believes the case could be solved within 3 years or much sooner. Monday will mark 5 years since the bodies of Abby Williams and Libby German were found near the Old Monon High Bridge on Valentine's Day 2017. Now, since that moment, police have received tips involving the case. Despite a cell phone video and sketch, this case remains unsolved. State Police Superintendent Dirk Carter, he sat down with me yesterday afternoon and for the first time expressed a possible timeline of when he believes this case could likely come to an end.
I believe that while I'm the superintendent of state police, we'll identify this individual.
That's within 2 years, sir.
3.
3 years. 3 years.
2 years and 11 months.
They didn't want to push you out.
Yeah.
So you think within 3 years something will develop?
It could be today.
It could be today.
It could be tomorrow. But I can say that we're continuing to move in a very positive direction. I was asked earlier, what would you say to Abby and Libby if you saw them today? And I would just simply say, I'm sorry, but I hope you're proud of us for what we've tried to do. And I believe that one day I'll be able to do that.
Now, the last major development in this ongoing case came back this past December, as you may recall. State police asked people who use Snapchat and Instagram to provide information about a young man using a fake account on social media to lure young girls. That appeal was made in a state police video. Now, the man at the center of the fake account, he's in custody, but he has not been named as a suspect or a person of interest directly in the Delphi case. I was hoping to get more details on that, but this is all the superintendent would say.
It generated a tremendous amount of interest. And the leads that we've received have been very helpful. But that's as far as I can go with that particular issue.
The superintendent tells me that this is not a cold case because he tells me no one has given up on the investigation. All new in our next half hour, why and when state police may need to assign 80 to 100 people to this case. Plus, Good Morning America will have more on the Delphi investigation coming up at 7:30 right here on WRTV. And as a reminder, you can find all of our reporting on Delphi on our website, WRTV.com/Delphi.
Okay. So Carter says 2 years and 11 months. He's like, it'll be over, which is his tenure, I believe. And to me, that means that he can guarantee no matter what, it'll be solved in 3 years, meaning they got somebody. They know who this person is. Um, that might be reason for all the changes. What do you think?
Yeah, my first, it's tough. Like, so if they have something, what would take them so long? And that's what I'm trying to wrap my head around. If they have something, what do they need to do to get that? So I'm like, everyone's anxious, everyone cares about them. We want to find the person as soon as possible. So I'm just like, let's hurry
Well,
up.
let me
And
ask you
why
this.
does it take that long?
Let's say I'm an investigator. I come onto a murder scene and I get a tip about certain evidence, and then also I found a piece of DNA, and this DNA and this tip leads to you. I'm like, okay, this DNA matches you, this tip matches you, but your alibi is airtight. What do I do?
Yeah, that's tough. That's where you're stuck. So if that's the case, which it sounds probable, then it's like, then what are you going to do how are you going to get that person to confess in 2 years and 11 months? Or if there's someone holding down the alibi, how are you going to get that person to speak up? And I don't know.
You're not. What you're going to do is you're going to release new evidence and you're going to
Mhm.
get more information that points at this individual.
I hope so. That's so needed. If there is 3 or 4 signatures, items, letting the general public know one of those 3 or one of those 4, keep the rest to the vest, and just get some sort of confirmation.
And the same with Klein. If I could see him in a room full of individuals saying, "Hey, look, let me show you this. Take a look at this. Take a look at what I've been able to do with these young girls. You guys want to see something really sick?" These people may be best friends, maybe good friends, longtime friends, may have been able to gain access to this information, even though he's no longer using it. Maybe he's no longer around. Maybe he's busy. Um, Maybe him seeing the girls on the news made him panic, saying, "Hey, I got to get out of here. Those are the girls that I've been catfishing. This is going to lead to me. I got to do something." Um, I really don't know. Something, whether it's either him completely and the image on the bridge is him, and we're so misled by those images that we're just completely confused. We think we know more than we do know. We all of a sudden become experts in regards to pixelated small snips of images. We all assume, and I think that might be the danger. I'm not sure.
Yeah, for sure. It's just we're left with so little and we want it solved, so we have to fill in the gaps, unfortunately. Um, just to brainstorm, and sometimes then it's good to go back to reality. All right, what do we really are left with? That's why I like how you'll go back to the video and like, all right, what hard evidence do we really have? Let's take a look at the
Mhm.
video. That's, to me, that's more important than a sketch.
It's the most important.
I think Keegan Kline's too big, but it's a crappy video image. Like, I think he's bigger than what we see on the bridge, but all right, maybe it's not good. But I was getting your thoughts on the phone, right? That it was the iPhone 5. So to that, if there was something on there that was more than just the child porn stuff, if it was a murder or something more snuff, maybe that's why it took an extra day. Like, he had to go dump that somewhere else, that
But
file, and then said, "Oh, here."
why give the phone at all? I mean, I would have, if I was somebody who had information on a device that could lead to the death penalty for me or life in prison, I would not return that phone. I would completely and utterly destroy it.
Right. It might be his defense attorney said, believed him and said, "Oh, there's nothing." Well, then you should turn that in. That will show some good faith. But so I don't know. I don't think he is the killer, but I think he's in the ring or he knows someone. There's definitely a connection there. And I heard did you hear? I heard he proactively like approached Barbara McDonald for the interview. Did you hear the same thing?
I heard that he basically injected himself and they were under no suspicion of exactly what they were dealing with. And then later on, we have a new interview while he's locked up, is what we should be expecting here Saturday. So
he has a very punchable face. That's what I say. If I have to watch that, which I will watch it, but man.
Well, let's continue on. Let's take a look.
Delphi murder case nearly 5 years after the killing of two Indiana teenage girls. Police say they may be closing in on the killer. Amy is here with the latest on the investigation and what the families are saying now. Good morning, Amy.
Yeah, good morning to you, Michael. This is the murder case of two young girls who managed to record the suspect with a phone. But 5 years later, he has still not been caught. While the case remains unsolved, Indiana State Police say they still receive 25 to 30 tips a week from all over the world. And they say this case is far from cold. Nearly 5 years since 13-year-old Abby Williams and 14-year-old Libby German were murdered on this Indiana hiking trail, their killer still at large. And this morning, Indiana State Police issuing a new warning to the culprit.
My resolve to catch him is as strong now as it was day one. But the difference now between now and day one is we know about you. A lot about you. Today could be the day. Sleep well.
Abby and Libby were last seen near this bridge in February of 2017. Authorities say Libby recorded this image of the alleged killer on her iPhone, along with haunting audio of his voice moments before their murder, apparently telling them to go down the hill. State police also urging anyone who may have communicated with this phony social media profile, Anthony_shots, to come forward. Police releasing information about these fake Snapchat and Instagram accounts in December, saying the person who created them tried to solicit nude images, obtain addresses, and meet juvenile females. Investigators say the model in these images is not a suspect.
That's generated a tremendous number of leads for us, and that's as far as I can go.
If you knew Libby, she had her phone attached to her hip all the time.
Libby's grandparents believe the teen knew something wasn't right with the man she encountered, prompting her to record him.
Something inside me just says, oh, she was going to film that and come home and say, look, Grandpa, look at this guy, you know. He was out there, really weird.
Abby's mother, Anna, reflecting on what her daughter would have been like today.
They'd be finishing up their freshman year in college. It's hard to believe. She would have turned into a really good young lady.
Both families desperate for the one tip that will bring them closure.
It's probably the smallest thing, but it's that small thing that we're missing. And that's what we just keep hoping for, is that that one small thing will come to light and that this will be over soon.
This guy could strike again. You know, it could be your kids, it happened to our family. I don't want it to happen to anybody else. This is not something anybody should have to go through.
No, it isn't. And Police Superintendent Carter has vowed to forge ahead until the killer is found. Hopefully, he will soon be able to give the families of Libby and Abby some closure. That's what his hope is, and certainly take a dangerous man off the streets, guys.
Yep, those families are going through.
Yep, and we all hope for that, Amy. Thank you. And
Wow. I do have the link to your video, and we'll play that right at the end if that's okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Once we get into things. A couple points of interest. What's going on with this? He said he basically made it seem like he knew who the killer was, right?
Yeah, but I don't know. They play that game a lot. Then you might show it later, that press release that, so I don't know, this case is so frustrating, right? You think that then the press release that came out, that mailer, or it makes it sound like they have no idea who it is. The one, it says, right, because one day we will obtain that one piece of information we seek, the identity of the person responsible for this senseless crime. So I read that, I'm like, so they don't know the identity of it, of the person who committed the crime, so they don't know who did it.
Well, I mean, let's take into consideration what Doug Carter just said. This is the most
Okay.
recent comment that he made. He said, "I know all about you." So you could know somebody was involved, but it's one thing to know somebody was involved, and it's another thing to have confidence that you can convict that person in a court of law.
That's true. That's one side of it. I guess the other side is, are they talking based off of the personality, the behaviors? Like, I know who you are because I know the crime scene. I know the behaviors. So they think they know, and maybe they do. I hope they do. But yeah, or they just can't convict them. They don't have enough.
And what does he mean? What does Doug Carter mean? We received a lot of tips, and they were extremely helpful. Something's going on.
Something's going on.
Yeah, they received information, and something is happening.
Yeah, I feel it. Part of me, I don't want to get my hopes up, right? But something does feel different with this interview being released, right? So they said they were waiting to get the lawyers to agree that they can release this interview. So obviously the lawyers looked at it and said it's fine. So don't know what that means. Either there's nothing in the interview that's incriminating or that will jeopardize the case, or they have so much on them that it's like,
we're going to play some information on that as well right at the end, on the HLN stuff.
Okay.
They kind of go into that. So I know that they had an interview before he was in jail, and it was just random. It wasn't anything exclusive. It was just kind of like a call-in type situation. They had to remove that episode and then actually turned it into law enforcement. So I'm assuming they're going to play that. And then they're also going to play the exclusive on-camera interview with this person, Kline. And Kline is going to discuss the information that was provided to law enforcement. I don't think that he had anything to do with this. If he had anything to do with this, he would not have turned in that phone. It's just, there's just no way.
So when you say nothing to do with this, meaning he wasn't on the bridge, but maybe he was in the ringer, just nothing at all.
Nothing at all. He was there doing what he does, being a pervert, exploiting young children, victimizing them, sextortion, and somebody that he shared this information with had other ideas for whatever reason.
Yeah. That could be.
Or it was just him. And his crimes evolved and included this murder. Because I could totally see him being on that bridge. People say, oh, well, he's too tall, he's too this, he's too that. There's so many variables. People try to measure the bridge guy, but they don't know where the girls were. They don't know how far on the south end they were. They don't know how far down. Were they down 6 inches off of the bridge? Were they down a foot off of the bridge? Were they up maybe standing on the railroad, the wood on the edge and filming? Were they up higher than you expected? Because when you have somebody over 60 feet away in that small of a range, one small miscalculation is going to put them maybe 6-7 inches taller.
So if I'm questioning myself, that's why I like having these conversations so we could think about things. But I'm like, if there was no video, then would I say I don't think it's Keegan Kline? Because am I basing my thoughts that it's not Keegan Kline based off of some bad video? So I'm like, yeah, if there was no video, if I never saw that video, which could be playing a trick on my eyes, but if I never saw it, I'd be like, oh hell yeah, it's Keegan Kline. Right? Is that the only piece that I have a hang up on, is that image, which is not the best image. And then, yeah, if it wasn't for that image, there's a lot that would make you think it's him.
And there's a lot in that image that leads to it being him. I mean, yes, he's a lot more overweight appearing, but if there's drugs involved, if people have ever been close to anybody involved in drugs, there's a huge weight fluctuations. I mean, we're talking from 1 month to the next. So we really don't know. Do we have images? Do we have video of him specifically from February? I haven't seen any.
Yeah, and all of his behavior with changing the dates on his Facebook, like what True Crime Maria put together, that timeline, just super peculiar.
That's what I was talking about earlier. So imagine this catfish seeing two of the girls, or at least one of the girls that he's been victimizing online, just announced that they were murdered. I mean, you would completely freak out. You would say, okay, they're definitely going to suspect me. I got to figure something out. I got to get out of here. But the truth is, he could have been used, could have been a friend, could have been somebody with access to maybe the same computers. I mean, we really don't know. Or it's as simple as it was just him. It was him and a friend, him alone, him. We just don't know. But I mean, it's really hard to say, to be honest.
Yeah. Hopefully, so they did say one thing. I guess I don't want to jump ahead, but there's some interesting that Barbara McDonald says in that 45-second tweet that they're going to give more information on what happened on the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
But I know I keep jumping ahead. Sorry.
I found a couple of news reports that give a little more information. There's actually some people. Yeah, I haven't seen those. It was a spicy little find. It was actually some people that had come forward stating and explaining their interactions with Keegan Kline. So let's take a look at this.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, this was dropped about 4 hours ago.
Hundreds of tips have come in to police about the social media profile that may be connected to the Delphi murders. It's a big new development and a story that Wish TV first brought you last week. Now, this has been News 8's Demi Johnson's story from day one. So at this point, what do we know about those tips?
Yeah, so I exchanged messages today with Carroll County Sheriff Tobe Lesenby. He tells me investigators have received about 500 calls about the Anthony Schatz account, the one getting renewed scrutiny in the Delphi murders.
In just 10 days, authorities have heard from at least 500 people, each of them explaining encounters with the online profile under the name Anthony Schatz, a profile state police highlighted earlier this month.
Investigators would like any individual who communicated, met, or attempted to meet the Anthony Schatz profile to contact law enforcement by utilizing the tip email, Abby and Libby Tip at CACOSHRF.com.
I personally have talked to at least 3 women who all say they received disturbing messages from either the account or the personal account of Keegan Kline. Kline is the man who admitted to state and federal agents that he opened the account. All of the women asked that I not use their names, but did give permission to report what they told me. A podcast called The Murder Sheet talked to another woman who said her interactions with Kline started when she was only 12 years old.
He would just tell me how beautiful I am, that I should come stay the night at his house, let him take me out of the state.
Kline is in the Miami County Jail on 30 felony charges, including child porn and child solicitation. Kline admits getting more than 100 sexual pictures and videos of underage girls using the Anthony Shots profile. He made that admission in February 2017, just 12 days after the murders of Abby Williams and Libby German in Delphi. But Kline wasn't arrested until more than 3 years later. So far, state police have not publicly connected Kline with the girls' deaths, but they have talked about the Delphi case in both of their releases about Kline and the social media account. The most recent came out Monday after our reporting when investigators acknowledged the delay in Kline's arrest. They say they've conducted dozens of secondary investigations based on information in the murders of Abby and Libby.
Now, again, we want to stress that Keegan Kline has not been charged in the murders of Abby Williams and Libby German. In fact, no one has. Kline was supposed to be in court today, but a judge agreed to cancel the appearance. He's now scheduled to go on trial in May. Demi Johnson, Wish TV, wishtv.com, and follow us on Facebook.
So, a little more information there. Keegan Kline trying to get people, to meet him at certain locations. So, maybe they did get some information that's going to go ahead and. Also, his original trial date was set back. I think it was scheduled for like around today, maybe even sometime soon. So this new information may even be the reason for that. I'm not sure.
I think it has to be. Yeah, that's why they would change it. I mean, if you're in court for something and they're going to change it because some other case has nothing to do with you, that doesn't make any sense. So
gives them a chance to include some new evidence.
Right. They could enter new evidence. There's a lot going on today. It's an exciting day with this.
Man, there is a lot going on. There's a lot of different media outlets involved. I mean, something's going on, and it just happened. I mean, we're talking like a week ago. This all just happened. So
yeah, it's weird. It's weird how it falls close to an anniversary. Law enforcement is gonna be like, no, we have something, but we're not going to do anything because we want to make it memorable on an anniversary. Like, that's silly, right? But I don't know. I think they get extra pressure and maybe put more resources or get fed up. But it is kind of strange that it does happen to fall on an anniversary.
Well, it's good to put pressure on yourself. You want deadlines, and you want that pressure. That pressure is needed. So also that 5-year mark, that puts you closer to that cold case type of feeling.
True.
So they don't want that. They don't want people thinking that this is a cold case and something that we can just ignore. So if they really have something, it's good that they're out saying, yes, we do. Like I said, hopefully whatever's going on with this HLN broadcast this Saturday, hopefully it's some good information and it brings things, into a positive direction. I hope.
Yeah, for the closure for the families. And also, I mean, there's a killer still out there. So if you think that he's local and the people in the community, like, there's a killer still out there that we assume.
Not only is he a killer, I mean, this is not your everyday killer. This is not your, okay, he hit the girls over the head and we found them on the side of the trail. We got them. No, there's signatures involved. This guy is obviously struck during the day. He's either the worst criminal or he's extremely smart. So you can't just ignore that. The reason that we are so interested in this case is the exact same reason why this person is either somebody extremely diabolical or we've completely missed everything. And I hope either way, if they catch him, I could care less, honestly.
Right. Yeah. As long as he's caught. So if it like, hey, it is Keegan Kline, he was on the bridge. Great. Okay. They're
done.
Good. Get his ass.
Think about how much we've learned. And then when we work on these other cases that have been unsolved, how much we've learned from this case, if that is the case. Like I said, let's be patient. Let's wait and see. But you got people like Roz, they're very invested in the whole Keegan Kline aspect, and these are our community's Occam Razor folks.
Mhm.
They're very dead set on whatever's simplest, whatever is apparent. It's usually what's happening, and when those types of situations are happening, I'm okay with that because that means that those things are being taken care of. I'm checking on the variables. I'm checking on the back end. What's dragging on the back end that's not being looked at? Why can't I spend my time there? And if it's nothing, great. And if this is it, good. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think we're all blindfolded. We don't have all the data information. So I do consulting and business problem solving. And the first thing I do is I need all the data. I need all the facts. I talk to the experts, whether it's I'm doing it for a business where it's like, where the employees are actually work in that area. That's who I talk to first, not a CEO. I want to know the people who are involved. I need to know what happened, get accounts. So we don't have any of that information. So then sometimes, I mean, that's what leaves so much speculation. But yeah, sometimes it is the simplest thing. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was. But if it was, then there's the part of me with this case. If it was that simple, then why isn't it solved? But there's variables that we don't know that make it more difficult. So then you start thinking, all right, well, if it's not that simple, then maybe it's something more complex. So then you think of those variables that you're talking about. Well, maybe it's one of those things. It's a
Well,
thought exercise.
I'm starting to think that maybe they had a really good tip early on. They followed up on it, and somebody that was integral in following that tip through just was not cooperating. And if they're not going to cooperate, it's kind of like that tip just kind of stops there. You know what I mean?
And I think they were scared. I think from what I gather is because when I think Doug Carter came out, one of them said like, "Hey, we'll protect you. You don't have to worry about anything. Like we'll protect you." So I think there's some with witness early on, and then maybe they came and changed their statement. Maybe at first they had something, and then they got spooked somehow. Someone threatened them. They're like, you know what? I take all that back. I will not testify. So I think there could be something there too.
And somebody smart enough to get away with this stuff. Let's say this is some type of crime that was planned out, very thoughtful. This is somebody that would kind of see the dangers of them getting caught and trying to tie up those loose ends. So let's say, okay, I made these mistakes. Um, why not go and threaten that one person? It's just this one person. Without this one person, they have nothing. All I have to do is
Mhm.
go and make a substantial threat to this person, make it believable, and that's it.
Yeah. 100%. And that's kind of what got me down the path. So if it is someone intelligent, then you start thinking of the for-profit killers because they're the ones that are usually 35 to 40 years old, but they'll leave signatures to throw off the crime. Those are the ones who will leave something. It's not because they're psychotic they leave signatures. It's because they're intelligent that they're trying to
Mhm.
throw them off. And during the day is pretty ballsy. Like that tells a lot about the person's behaviors too. Either they're crazy during the day where they just don't give a,
Well,
or
that
they're
tells
just like,
me that it wasn't for profit. Because if it was for profit, you wouldn't take those chances. You would simply snatch up 2 girls, you would take them to an isolated location, you would set up your snuff situation, you would film it there, and you would get away scot-free. Whatever this is not for profit. This is something whether somebody's completely out of their mind, in my opinion, or this is completely done out of passion, and the signatures are just there to mislead. And law enforcement will tell you most times, signatures, that's what they're there for. They're simply just
mhm,
there to mislead.
100%. Yeah, that's why they're there, to mislead. And the other reason, I guess we won't get into, yeah, it's if usually if it's a family member, which I don't think it is in this case, and they're trying to like protect the family member, they'll leave a signature to like so they don't embarrass the family. But I don't think it's that at all. So there's a lot of unknowns, contradicting things. Yeah, I want it solved already, like everyone else, and just like what are the answers? Like what are the answers? And is this person put away now? Could people relax? Is he already in jail? Is it Keegan Kline, or you're still looking over your shoulder, still uncomfortable?
Well, the reason Keegan Kline makes a lot of sense is because he was communicating. This is a fact. He was communicating with the girls via social media. So he could have corralled the girls there. He could have directed them to be there that day. That's the reason why it still is so interesting to me because if you could get the girls there, you could work under a schedule. You know, it's like, okay, I'm trying to get these subjects here at a certain time, and if I can go through with my plan, and if I can't, it's off. And they were successful in getting them there at a certain amount at a certain time. Then it's, it could be that they were looking for this Anthony Shots character while they're seeing this creepy person kind of monitoring them. They're like, "Hey, that's not our guy. That's not our contact. This is not the guy that we lost our phone over for a week. This is not the guy that we stayed up all night talking to. This is not the guy that we came to meet. Who is this creepy guy that seems to know all of our movements?" We tell him, "Hey, we'll meet you on the south end of the bridge." Here comes the creepy guy. "I'll meet you at the back, over by the cemetery." Here's the creepy guy. So there could be multiple communications between them. That point where they film him on the bridge could just be a first interaction. It could just be like, "Oh wow, okay, we got to get rid of this guy." Okay. Um, but somehow he's just one step ahead. It's because this is your catfish. This is the guy that you're not expecting to meet here at the bridge. You're looking for a young guy, maybe a young guy with his older sister, a young guy with his best bud, two young, good looking kids. This is not him. But yet, everywhere that we're trying to meet our good looking guy is this creepy guy, seems to be there at every turn. So you think that you're evading this person, but at the same time you're communicating your next steps to this person. Does that make sense?
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you hit on something. How long is the video? I know you dissected it more than anyone I know. Is it 2 seconds, 1 second
I'm not sure.
ish?
I'm not exactly sure. It's extremely short.
So yeah, you were making me think that. I mean, what if he was just brave for that one little second, right? And they capture that. So maybe he was scared shitless walking on the bridge the whole time, and maybe that 1 second he looks like, oh, he's confident during that 1 second. Because my point being is, it's such a small little fraction where, like, who knows? Because his head was down, maybe he was scared on the bridge, or it's just
Mhm.
such a small little snapshot that, I mean, imagine a movie and you just have a snapshot of something like you can't gather a lot out of it.
Well, let's say you and I are sitting in a room and we're catfishing these young kids and we're sick people. Okay, we got them. We got their full attention. We've talked about killing before. Let's go. Let's do it. Like we have full control. Where would we do it? Well, that bridge would be perfect. We can get them to the south end of that bridge and we can take them to that spot that we've always talked about. So when I've always investigated the Delphi case, my whole goal was to find out if they've been planning this prior. And this might have been what's going on right now with this whole Anthony Shots thing. Abby and Libby may not have been their first attempt. They could have been trying to lure girls to that bridge or other locations similar to the bridge before. They just weren't successful. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it reminds me of the Israel Keys thing. I did listen to some of Israel Keys where he's talking about he picks the location first and has like a kill kit. He looks for something where there's
Mhm.
not witnesses. So when I started hearing about this case, I'm like, that
Yeah,
sounds.
and don't get me wrong, if it's possible that this person was filming and taking video, but they weren't there to enjoy the crime. They were there if they were gonna document this crime, it was for purposes of enjoying it later. So the staging and things like that could have been pre-planned, like, "Okay, we're gonna commit these crimes. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna them how we need, and we're going to do the things that we need done, and then we'll enjoy it later with the footage and the film and the pictures. We'll get in, we'll stage how we planned it, we'll get out, and all the enjoyment takes place afterward. Not only with the footage and the potential pictures involved, but also with us, what we're doing now, the communication. And I believe that this person may have been communicating with us. So hopefully, like I say, the same thing that causes these weird people to commit these types of crimes usually is the same thing that gets them caught. So let's hope that whatever that is what leads to their demise.
Yeah, and like you bring up, the signatures are so telling, because if there were in fact signatures, which Robert Ives said, and he used the word items. I think he kind of slipped when he said items, but when he said that on the Oz show, like items, I'm thinking of physical signatures, and it might be a combination of both. I do think it's a combination of some maybe posing, staging something, but he said items. It's like that shows it's planned. Like he came out there, he looks like he has a bunch of shit stuffed in his jacket. If he has signatures, then it was a planned event.
Quick, and it's something that he's gone over and over in his mind.
Then had to live it out, and he found the two that he wanted to live it out. I think maybe invited a bunch of different girls that day, because he said he was communicating with all these different ones, and he was probably like, I'll be there all day, so let's see who shows up. And
he could have been there all day. He was dressed like he was there from the morning. One thing with the image work, I haven't shared it yet, but it almost appears that Bridge Guy is holding a Bible.
No way.
Yeah, under his jacket, he's holding a Bible. But it's just one quick little frame. Who knows? It's very telling. So we'll see if that plays out. But we just don't know. There's a lot of strange things. So if he's leaving stuff, maybe he could have left a Bible there.
That non-secular phrase that has disappeared off the face of the internet. A lot of people, I mean, I don't have sources or anything. I have people that I've talked to on Reddit who are like legit, and they said, no, I swear I heard him say that. And there's like a bunch of people saying they say that, but no one could show the evidence of it. But do I believe them? Yeah, I believe that they saw that. The statements that said non-secular, they heard Robert Ives say that. I wish there was some evidence of it. Make me feel a little bit better, because it's so telling if that's true.
No, there is evidence. It's actually in an article. It's not a video. It's a quote very early on. If I can find it, it's actually in one of my early videos. But he's quoted as stating that.
Nice. I didn't know you had that. That's great. I've been looking for it. There it is.
It's an obscure online media outlet as well. So I'll look into that, and I'll pull it out so people can see that if people have been confused about that.
Yeah, there's a lot of people looking for it. I know, at least on Reddit, a lot of people on Delphi docs, they're trying to track that down.
Yep, it's a quote.
Yeah.
So I got two more to play before we close it out and play your video. So let's take a look here.
13-year-old Abby Williams and 14-year-old Libby German were murdered on an Indiana hiking trail almost 5 years ago. Their killer has been at large ever since. You'll recall Abby and Libby were last seen near a bridge in February of 2017. Authorities say Libby recorded haunting audio of their alleged killer's voice moments before their murder. The person telling them, "Go down the hill." This morning, authorities are issuing a new warning to that culprit.
My resolve to catch him is as strong now as it was day one. But the difference now between now and day one is we know about you, a lot about you. Today could be the day.
Indiana State Police urging anyone who may have communicated with this phony social media profile, Anthony_Shots, to come forward. Libby's grandparents believe the teenager knew something wasn't right with that man she encountered, and that's why she recorded him. Abby's mother, Anna, still can't imagine life without her daughter. Both families are desperate for that one tip that will bring them some closure. Indiana State Police Superintendent Doug Carter says he will forge ahead until that killer is found.
More
we know a lot about him, right? That was the sentence there that caught my attention.
But you were right with what you said. It's just more of that saying a lot without saying anything at all type of language. But to me, this is different. I don't know why. I feel like it is different. I feel like, I mean, with the rescheduling of the trial, with them not arresting this person at a certain time, maybe he was under surveillance. Um, I mean, it's either the biggest blunder ever, or we're getting ready to thank law enforcement for their efforts. I'm just not sure.
Yeah, it's hard. I'm like many people, I'm sure I go back and forth and just like, man, you just want it to be solved. So try to be optimistic, and then you'll hear a slip up or something like, oh man, maybe they don't have as much information as they think. But
Doug Carter, he says, 2 years and 11 months, I can guarantee that this will be over. So that means that he knows whatever information that they have, it won't take that long to get it all resolved. Am I
that's a
am I
good point.
am I reading into this incorrectly? I can't. That's what I'm seeing.
No, because I asked earlier, and now I think you're kind of answering it. I asked, why would it take 2 years and 11 months? Well, if they are, because that's when a trial will start, because it does take from an arrest to that actual trial. It depends, but yeah, maybe it'll take 2 years before that trial to start, which seems about right, 2.5 years. So if that's what he was including, then that explains the length that we would have to wait if they do have
And
something good
also,
right now.
and if they do have something good, the trial's already set. So really that time frame is a lot shorter. This could just be new information included in that trial. Like they said, Carter explained, we were on to something early on. Maybe this is just more of that. Maybe they were always on to this, and it's just evolving, and maybe they've had this figured out from the beginning.
Yeah, well, I think they would need a separate trial. That would be, so if it was, or there's a trial, but it's for all the CP stuff, I think.
Well,
I could
think
be
about
wrong.
it. If the CP stuff includes those victims, instantly it's part of the same thing.
Yeah, and some of the stuff that was redacted was pretty telling. I haven't looked at the affidavit in a while, but some of those things that were blacked out, you're like,
And there was another user ID. I think it was like Amanda something, or can't remember.
like his sister's name or something.
Yeah, that was used by him apparently. It was another catfish account used probably to disarm people as a female.
Right.
I know that was being used. It was in the affidavit. So I'm not sure if that plays a big part.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Well, I'm going to play one more video. This is just kind of like some information in regards to the HLN. And then I have the link to your video, and I'm going to pop that up. And then afterward, we'll go ahead and chat it up.
Sounds good.
Night on HLN, I have exclusive new reporting about what happened out here that day 5 years ago and some of the evidence in the case. We also have a worldwide exclusive on-camera jailhouse interview with the man behind that fake profile, Anthony Schatz, and what he says investigators have shared with him about his communications with Libby before her murder. Saturday night, Susan Hendricks is hosting a special 1-hour report with a premiere appearance by retired cold case investigator Paul Holes. He is now an HLN host and commentator. All of that is coming up Saturday night on HLN beginning at 6 p.m. Eastern.
There's so much in that 30 seconds, the first 30 seconds of it.
Well, when she says that they have an interview with Kline on video and he talks about his communication with Libby, I think that's going to give us a lot of our answers.
That validates it.
Yeah, he may not be our guy, but somebody connected to this person who would have access to the Anthony shots, who would be viewing that. The only person I could see viewing, okay, I pictured this Anthony Schatz character creating the fake account and catfishing, throwing out such a vast net all over that Indiana area, right? It just happens to catch the girls, the Delphi girls, in that net. But they may have already been being cyber stalked, and somebody may have been witnessing their interactions with Kline. So, I mean, that's always a possibility as well.
Yeah. Could have been talked to. He could have talked to some of his friends like, oh, hey, look, I got these girls that I'm catfishing, and yeah, I'll probably invite them here sometime. They always go out geocaching over here. So like, oh, they do, huh? Interesting.
But I also see somebody like Kline and maybe a buddy of his talking about the wickedness that they're doing and how it needs to evolve. So it may not be any type of pedal ring. It could just be 2 or 3 guys that are evolving as criminals. You know what I mean? It doesn't need to be anything vast in order for them to commit this crime and for them to cyber stalk and to manipulate, kind of like what you were saying earlier. And what I was referring to is that they could have attempted this multiple times. The timing is right. They could have been out there. They could have had their mark right in the place that they wanted, and things just were not right, and they just didn't do it. But on that Monday, everything just happened to be right for them to where they could take the girls away from the trails and commit their crime away from any interaction with anybody that might be there that day. They happened to escape. I don't know how. I'm assuming they had a ride. I mean, how else? I mean, you had to have somebody come and pick you up as soon as you came out of those woods, get in a car, and then leave, or you're getting busted.
Yeah, I don't know how they left. But yeah, I think that's likely someone picked them up. Someone was saying a canoe. I'm like, well, that's pretty slow, but I don't know. They did something. I've never been there. I've never been to the area, so it's hard to fully say. I've seen videos and things, but it seems like you could disappear a little bit, but you're eventually want to get to something fast, like a car, some type of vehicle that gets you out of the scene. And to your point, I think
that private drive. I mean,
Right.
if they were taken down on that south side, just because nobody's seen a vehicle on the private drive doesn't mean that one did not exist there.
Right. Still a lot of unknown. Hopefully they share some good stuff on Saturday, because sometimes it's disappointing when we think there's going to be a big reveal, but I don't know. My hopes are up for this Saturday with the way she laid it out like that.
And if they don't, hey, we continue doing what we can when we can. But let me go ahead and pull up your video. I have the link. It might slow us down a bit at first, so don't be alarmed. Let me see if I can post a link to your site here. Go ahead and subscribe real quick. Okay. Now make sure you guys take a look at this link. Go subscribe to Fig Mutant right after the video. He is at 145 subscribers. We need that at least 400 by midnight tonight. Everybody who is viewing, there's 233 people here. I need all of you to go ahead and jump over there and subscribe. We are going to play this video now.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, this is video is just one way of me trying to connect the dots is really all it was.
That's all we can do. Is what we can. All right, let's take a look here.
Did Keegan Kline hire Bridge Guy to take video and or pictures of a murder scene so that he could sell those images on the dark web? This may seem far-fetched, but unfortunately, it wouldn't be the first time something like this has happened.
Of his life behind bars for a lengthy list of heinous crimes. Sean Fiore was caught with images of child porn prosecutors say were the worst of the worst. And then they discovered he hired a woman from Venezuela to kidnap and torture people, a young boy she abused, and a man who apparently was killed on camera for Fiore's viewing pleasure.
If you had arrived at this crime scene where the girls' bodies were found, there were 3 or 4 physical characteristics of the crime scene that you absolutely would take pictures of, that you absolutely would take pictures of.
I think that he got the underage like photos and then was on the dark web like selling them bitches. That's what I think, like selling the photos. You know what I mean? Yeah. To make money illegally, like through Bitcoin. Like that's what I think now. Now that I'm like, it's done and looked at, that's what I'm like. I think that, like that's how he was making a living.
Can you please tell me again, what did she tell you that she heard or that she had saw videos of the crime?
She told me that Sheena Cottrell and Nick Edwards had fucking videotapes of the shit and that she heard them talking about it. And then when I asked her about it, she's like, oh, I don't know nothing. And then she shut it down, wouldn't fucking talk about it. She knew that Sheena Cottrell and Nick Edwards were talking about who did it. That's what I said.
Her and Nick were talking about who did it.
Yeah.
Who? And she said that she saw video or that someone claimed to have video of it?
Someone claimed to have video of it.
In December 2021, Indiana State Police held a late-night press conference asking for information from anyone who was in contact with Keegan Kline's online profile, Anthony Shots. What was strange about this press conference is they already knew who was behind the Anthony Shots profile. They already had Keegan Kline arrested in jail. So what was the point of this press conference? Were they looking to communicate with other victims, or were they looking to communicate with Bridge Guy?
Directly to the killer.
Please provide as much information as you possibly can. For example, when you communicated with Anthony Schatz, how you communicated with the profile, what social media applications the account used, and if Anthony Schatz attempted to meet you or obtain your address. If you have saved images or conversations with Anthony Schatz's profile, please attach them to your email. Abby and Libby Tip at cacoshrf.com. Please provide as much information as you possibly can. For example, when you communicated with Anthony Schatz, how you communicated with the profile, what social media applications the account used, and if Anthony Schatz attempted to meet you or obtain your address. If you have saved images or conversations with Anthony Schatz's profile, please attach them to your email. Again, if you have any information, please contact law enforcement by utilizing the tip email, Abby and Libby Tip at cacoshrf.com. Thank you.
Good stuff, man.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a thought, and I think part of it is some hope, knowing that other case got solved. It took 18 years, but maybe wanting so bad for there to be some sort of evidence that does implicate someone. And then someone brought up a good point. I think it was on a comment on there. Might have been True Crime Maria. Someone said I was hesitant to think this because, right, if it's online, then people saw it. Like, I'm sure the guy would have been caught by now or something. But then someone brought up, well, maybe he's taking the hard drive, and that's why he was going to Vegas and stuff. So he wasn't even putting it on the web, but he was taking hard drives and delivering those. I'm like, oh, okay, that's a good thought. I don't know.
Well, it wouldn't be hard drives. It would be actual something like Polaroids or something that you would actually have to hand over,
Right. Yeah.
something that can't be
I think
traced
that's what they're
digitally.
getting at.
Maybe even like a 8 millimeter type situation. Um, you never know. Like the Shill Miller aspect of everything just shows you what is possible. Um, my buddy Unroyal, he spent a lot of time explaining that connection to me and how possible it was. But at the same time, we have to kind of take a real chill Graz approach with Occam's razor, and we got to keep it grounded in reality. The fact is that these guys are not sophisticated. They may be sophisticated in what they do and evolved in what they do, but they're only sophisticated in a confined type way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think the hope, yeah, there's some hope that there's some evidence. And then also if someone does hear someone talking about a video or hear someone talking about photos, like, yeah, ask to, hey, like verify that those things exist and tip that thing in. So just to be earful, mindful, because
I
some
think the
sickos
jump
do this sort of thing.
I think the jump takes place with the staging. We got to remember, staging doesn't mean that they put up some elaborate staging, um, some type of photo session. You know what I mean? Staging could simply be that one of the girls fell in a way that the killer was not comfortable with, and he simply sat her back up, crossed her hands, and there was no other intention other than the fact that she fell strangely. Boom, that is a signature, and that is staging. It doesn't mean that he placed her up and put a teddy bear with her, put a Bible in her hand, and then, um, proceeded to take a photo shoot. Um, so we got to remember staging could be something very quick. It could be a spur of the moment kill that included some staging, and this person, um, after the murders, just did something really quickly and left signatures there. This may not be something elaborate. Staging could happen spur of the moment. That's all I want to remind everybody.
Yeah, it could be taking two sticks and making a cross real quick. But yeah,
Yep.
there's 3 or 4 of them. So I mean, that's all we're left with. If I can't get all the evidence and data, if I'm working on a project, then it's like, all right, what could it be? Why is Keegan Kline important? Why is Garrett Kurtz saying that there's a video that exists?
Possibilities. It's important that if you're going to create a theory, that you show something to support that. And Shield Miller is a complete way to support the idea of some type of snuff situation going on. Because if you can create the allure of millions and millions of dollars, you don't necessarily have to have millions of dollars. You can just convince others that you
Right.
have it, and they will go and they will commit these atrocities under that belief of payment. So, if anybody knows anything about Shill Miller, the people that committed the murders for this person in Alaska, they thought they were dealing with an older person, somebody who had millions and millions of dollars, who was well off. So this is something that takes time. So if this is something that took place, this is something where they were taking time. They were winning somebody's trust, and then they were manipulating them for their gain. This isn't something where you just pop up overnight and say, "Hey, I got $1 million. Go, will you go ahead and create a snuff film?" No,
There's
this is
grooming.
somebody. This is somebody that's edging away and knifing away and slowly gaining somebody's trust. But with the whole Klein aspect, I believe this may be a sophisticated catfish, but I don't believe that it's a ring. I believe that these guys have grown to become sophisticated, and there may only be 1 or 2 other people involved at the most, in my opinion.
Yeah, I have no idea how many people. Yeah, and if I was to bet, is the scenario that I put the most likely? No, I probably wouldn't make it the most likely. I think for me, I get so much input from all these different ways. I'm like, I got to output something. I have to connect the dots and create something that could logically make sense, whether it's the most probable or not. And then, yeah, with that glimmer of hope that there is some extra evidence that was created. So hopefully, even if they took a souvenir from the crime, like hopefully they have something, whoever committed these crimes, that when they suspect them, they get a search warrant, they find an item that belongs to one of the girls. So that's kind of what prompted the video, is some hope, like, all right, if there is no evidence, if there's no DNA, like maybe there's something else.
And we can only hope. And it's good to theorize, but at the same time, we got to focus on the evidence. We have this guy's voice. We have these images. We now know that the Anthony Shots was involved. So whatever we can do with that, I hope it's something. Hopefully this conversation will be completely different here after this weekend. That's my hopes.
Yeah, and I just think keeping open. I think when people get in trouble, when you bring up a theory or example and you're like, nope, it's 100% this way, it can't be any other way, and you get locked into this tunnel vision, I think it's healthy to throw things out there and bounce ideas off each other, and just to see if something sparks interest, or put something out. But if you're going to be stuck on it, that's where we get in trouble, when you're closed-minded. Like, no, you should want people to question your theory and then say, oh, maybe that isn't the way that it went down, but it might spark an idea to maybe give someone another idea where they could tip something in. So I think healthy debate's always good for problem solving.
Yeah, healthy's debate. I also think having persons of interest, I think that's okay. I know a lot of people are against that, but I mean, as long as you keep it honest and you talk about where you're coming from, and you don't put these people's names out there. I mean, have your interest, your people of interest, but do it in a respectable manner. But at the same time, do not, you can't be a hypocrite. Um, for example, me, I've publicly brought out a lot of people of interest. These are people who are currently serving life sentences. These are people that are currently under investigation for child porn, child assaults, things like that. Be careful of these people of interest. That's all I have to say. But if we're not looking for somebody that's interesting to us, what is it that we're doing?
Yeah, I just think, yeah, it's you should have people that you're looking at. And then if you're shown evidence, like I was looking at someone, I think I showed you, and then I was like, oh, they were actually in jail that time. So be willing, if you get shown evidence that proves you're wrong, like, all right, who we're looking at next? Just like, instead of saying I'm sticking to my guns no matter what new evidence that comes out, like I know I'm right. That's when we get into
Yeah, the whole tunnel vision, it's kind of like, even when I was dealing with my recent person of interest, there was people that I was working with behind the scenes that had nothing to do with this person. So you never stop what it is that you're doing. You never stop searching. You never get comfortable. So yeah, I completely agree with that.
Yeah, that was my one, I won't say concern, but it's like, all right, it almost seems so obvious after those interviews where, and I know you wouldn't do this, but we can't be like, all right, we got the guy, like everyone just stop looking. I knew that wouldn't happen, but it is that, like, wow, it seems so like
Well, it has
unbelievable.
happened. A lot of it has happened with Keegan Kline. A lot of people have just kind of sat back and said, "Well, we'll just wait for this," and they could be right. Maybe that is what it was. Law enforcement just looking for something, just that little bit of extra to kind of throw into a trial, to say, "Hey, look, this is why this is our guy, and this is why we're going to include this evidence and these new charges here momentarily." And maybe that's what we'll be hearing over the weekend or during the press conferences, charges being placed.
Yeah, we can only hope, man. We're all in this together, and it's an emotional case, and there's ups and downs, and we think something's happening, and then we find out it's not. So it's a tough case with kids and two little girls. It is an
Well,
emotional one.
America,
I can't look at any other case. I'm like, I can't, like, I'll just focus on one, because there's so
mhm.
many other cases as well too where it consumes you.
America has picked this case. They said, "This is our case. There's too much evidence. There's too much going on. We can't ignore this. Two young children. This could be anything. This has nothing to do with race. This has nothing to do with anything. It's just a certain circumstances where there's too much for us not to ignore, and we have to demand justice. 5 years in the life of a cold case is not long at all. We're still in the first 5 minutes, really.
Yeah, and there's video evidence. It's like we owe it to live. Like she did something. She set this up. Like who's gonna finish this? Who's gonna find out who the person is? Like she set us up for success. And I do feel I don't know her. I don't know the family at all. But it's like someone set this up pretty good to find out who killed them. Like, come on, let's do this.
That's the attraction. That's the allure. We have video. We have audio. But at the same time, it's almost the same things that we thought were our strengths in this case turned out to be our weakness. So it could turn out to be a complete tragedy, in especially with the first sketch. I don't know if you paid any attention to the early media in regards to the case. There was families, there was companies investing in billboards, their time in passing out these flyers only for 2019 to pop up, and this is not our guy. We're now going with the younger sketch. So I can't help but feel some type of dagger for those folks, because I played close attention, watched all the media, and I watched all the coverage. There's probably not much that I've missed. And to see these hardworking folks spending their hard-earned time spreading that older looking sketch and things like that, and spending their own personal money without asking for a dime, only to be told, hey, we're going in a different direction. For something like that to take place, to me, it's law enforcement's responsibility to keep us informed. And after 5 years, if this isn't a cold case, what they're doing right now is very proper. I like to see the movement. We all see it. We all sense it. We put our ears to the railroad track, so to speak, and we can hear the train coming. So hopefully it's the one that we've been waiting for.
Yeah, hope it leads to arrest. Hopefully some good news. Like, yep, we have the person, and yep, this trial is going to be a murder trial now.
Can't wait. I hope so. After this weekend, maybe we can do a follow-up if you're willing, on another live, and we'll follow up on the information that was presented over the weekend. I can't wait. Is there anything you want to tell the audience here before we head out?
I haven't been able to see chat, but I'll check it out later. So, it's nice things or mean things. It's all good, but
it's
I
all
appreciate
been
your
good.
time, and it's nice to
all
talk
been,
to you.
It's all been positive. They have a lot of questions, and I apologize that we couldn't focus in on that. But that's just the way it is, and we're all hopeful. So if we can get a follow up, man, I'd really appreciate that. That'd be pretty cool, I think.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time and playing the video, and just want to get awareness out there. So appreciate it. Appreciate everyone in chat too.
All right. Well, we're going to end on that note. Fig, I appreciate it. Everybody, make sure you go subscribe to Fig Mutant. I don't mean tomorrow. I don't mean, at some point when you check out, go right now. Go over there and subscribe. He may not be around long. He's just here to help us out. So if we can get him enough subscribers, we'll keep him around a little bit longer.
I appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
All right. Thanks for joining me, Fig. You take care.
Thank you too. Bye.
Bye. Well, everybody, I want to thank you, Callie. It's good to see you. I'm not sure how long you've been here. It's always great to have you hanging out. But everybody, that's going to conclude this Sleuth Intuition Live. Thank you so much. After the weekend, we'll go ahead and get an update. And we'll check in with Real Chill Graz Saturday to see if he's got something going on with the live stream. And if he doesn't have anything going on, I'm sure he will more than direct us. Take care.